What is up, boyos? It is Water Buffalo Man here, and back for more Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle. Alright, so we're going to be getting Toppo, the God of Destruction, Toppo mode, whatever, tonight. Toppo God of Destruction mode, there we go. I was looking for his actual name on the screen and I found it. But we're getting God of Destruction Toppo tonight, and I mean, here's kind of a little basic how to build on him. He's relatively straightforward. He's another one of those units that kind of is, you want to go one of two ways with him, and that's entirely dodge or additionals. Because just looking at his leader skill, looking at the way he would generally be built, is he has the damage reduction. Well, let's just dive into his leader skill first. Special pose, tournament participants, key 3, 170, plus an additional 30 for Defenders of Justice, Space Traveling Warriors, final trump card. Greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn on his super, which is great, so that's 50% to stats. And his passive is all the justice that remained. Activates entrance animation once only, and reduces damage received by 11% for the rest of battle, and guards all attacks for 3 turns from the character's entry turn when there are another 2 or more special pose or Defenders of Justice category allies on the team. Upon the character's entry turn, but on the team. So he gets 11% damage reduction and a guaranteed guard for 3 turns just by being on his own team, own special pose team, which is kind of self-explanatory because that's what you'd really run him on. And even if you run him on tournament participants, you're generally going to run him alongside like a Jiren or something, because that's relatively what his best linking partners would be, is like a Jiren or a Dispo or something. You see what I mean? He kind of really fits into that category, and that Dispo fits really good beside him. But after that, he gets, like I said, the guaranteed guard, the 11% damage reduction. He gets attack and defense of 200% start a turn, plus an additional 150% attack when performing a super attack. But he reduces an additional 20% of damage received just off the rip, so there's 31% damage reduction. Changes int to rainbow when HP is 50% or more, which is kind of alright. Special pose or Defenders of Justice category, key 1, 30% stats. So he's a decent support unit for Special Pose and Defenders of Justice, which he covers both those categories. He gets an additional defense of 50% within the same turn after receiving an attack, plus an additional 200% defense, and guards all attacks as a first attacker in a turn. So in the first slot, which is what you probably are going to run him in on his own team, because Jiren's generally going to be a slot 2 style unit, he's going to get 200% defense, plus 50% defense, plus an additional 200% defense here, guaranteed guard, plus 31% damage reduction. Which, to me, that's a fantastic, definite, additional super and dodge build unit. Because pre-super, right, hear me out. Pre-super, he's going to have 31% damage reduction. Plus, he's going to get an additional defense of 250% in slot 1. Once he gets hit, because then he's the first attacker in a turn. He gets that additional 250%. Plus, he gets the 200% built in from the start of turn passive. This unit's really decent, actually, but it's not worth summoning for with the worldwide coming. So, me personally, at this point, at 55%, I'm gonna say you'll want to go additional dodge if you happen to get this man. So, at 55%, he's gonna have the built-in, 5 additional, I think is what Fizz comes with? Yes, it comes with 5 additional. So you'd want to go for his other skill orbs, you'll generally want to go the evasion additional attack skill. Same style that we went with the 17 in Frieza. His link skills, there they are. I was looking right at them, are Supreme Warrior, Tough as Nails. Tough as Nails is kind of nice because it gives him 20% defense plus an additional 5% damage reduction. Shocking Speed gives more defense. Hero Justice gives more attack. Signature Pose gives key and attack. And Tournament Power gives key attack and defense, and Fierce Battle gives attack. His stats are pretty decent across the board. He's got pretty solid defense, and even at 55%, that's kind of not terrible. It's not great, but not terrible. And he links relatively well with himself, so theoretically, if you link him with, I don't know, let's just say you run this Toppo, because let's say this Toppo is good. He shares 6 out of 6 links, you're getting an additional 49% attack and 32% defense, as well as an additional 5% damage reduction, which is not terrible, to be honest. And then once he transforms, this is really where I think this unit actually kind of shines, and this really also builds into my idea of building him additional dodge. I know a lot of you are going to say, why aren't we going crit? Why aren't we going crit? And this right here is kind of why. So he transforms into God of Destruction mode, right? And he becomes massively raising attack and just raises defense for 1 turn. So his attack stat drastically goes up every turn by 100%, but his defense only goes up by 30 instead of the 50% he was getting the super attacks prior. He gets key 3, 300% start a turn, plus an additional 250% when attacking. On top of if it's a super, he gets that additional 100%, plus an additional 100% defense when receiving said attack. Has a guaranteed guard, changes into rainbow key spheres. But the big thing and the big reason why I think he needs to be additional dodge with maybe minimal crit, if you really want to worry about crit that much, but more additional dodge than anything, is the reduction of 80% damage reduction, and with each attack received, the damage reduction rate drops by 8%. So the big reason why I'm saying going with dodge, and hear me out on this one before you really get the pitchforks ready, is because I hate dodge myself, is you're going to most likely run him in slot 1 that first turn after transforming, right? That's generally going to be your best bet. So you're going to put him slot 1. He has guaranteed 80% damage reduction, 300% attack and defense off the start, gets an additional 100% once he gets hit that first time, but he does lose the 8% damage reduction. So the reason I'm saying dodge is because you're saving a little bit of that damage reduction. He has to physically get hit to lose the damage reduction. So, right, if he dodges an attack, that doesn't subtract 8% from his defense, or from his damage reduction. So if there's 3 attacks in slot 1 on him before he gets the super, he dodges, let's say, 2 of them, he only loses 8% damage reduction, and he's down to 72% versus being down to 56% damage reduction right off his first turn. Because once he drops down to that minus 60%, his damage reduction is only 20% for the remainder of that fight. So the more chances you have to maintain the higher damage reduction with relying on the dodges, is why I'm saying this, will allow this unit to last longer in stronger content and more difficult content. So you need that dodge chance to give you that additional 10% chance, 20% chance, whatever you build into your dodge, to be able to extend the higher damage reduction for the more drawn out fight. For maybe, let's say you dodge the first attack, you maintain the 80% damage reduction, and then bam, you get hit with a super, but instead of being at 72% damage reduction, or even 56, or whatever it is, let's say there's 4 attacks, whatever, and that final one's a super, maybe you dodge 2 of those attacks, and you have a higher damage reduction now to be able to withstand that super a little easier than you would be if you were down to, say, 50% damage reduction, or even in this case, down to the minimum of 20. 80% to 20% is a big difference in damage reduction. That's legitimately taking a 1 million super with 80% damage reduction. You're only taking that super for 200,000 with no defense. With 20% damage reduction, you're taking that super for 800,000 with no defense. That's a major difference in terms of the amount of damage you're actually going to take. And another reason why I say don't go crit, I'll explain here in a second, he nullifies Ki Blast super attacks directed at the character for 1 turn from the character's entry turn, and starting from the character's next attacking turn, high chance of nullifying Ki Blast supers. So he can literally deflect supers, which is cool. Massively raises attack, causes ultimate damage to enemy, and all attacks become critical hits. This man gets guaranteed crits the moment you activate the Sphere of Destruction. You do not need to worry about crits. You can go minimum crit if you really want to, just to keep it so base form Toppo can do some, but he gets guaranteed crits for the whole battle based off of his active skill. There's absolutely no point in giving him crit when you can just give him dodges and additionals. So if you get him to 79%, I honestly would have to say go, let me see, I'm looking at a Fizz unit right now, so go 3 dish, 3 dodge, 6 dodge, 3 more additionals, so that puts at 11 additional 6 dodge, 11 additional 9 dodge, 11 additional 12 dodge, and then probably 14 additional 12 dodge is probably what I would go with without any support or skill or put it to. Probably 14 and 12. Nothing into crit. Honestly, 0 into crit. 14 into additional, 12 into dodge, nothing into crit, and then the same thing as normal for the skill orbs. I would go additional dodge, additional dodge, additional dodge for all 3 categories: bronze, silver, and gold. or just straight additional, straight dodge, straight additional, whichever you choose. And maybe even a little bit of a defense buffering one if you wanted to throw that in there. But this man is definitely a unit that needs to be built around additional and dodge. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, and he gets a guaranteed chance of performing 5% chance of performing a critical hit off his solid support link skill as well. And I don't know if he has anything on the turn prior. Let me double check really quick here before I... Yeah, he gets a crit chance of 5% with Hero of Justice at link level 10. So he has a chance to crit, but he gets guaranteed crits once he activates Sphere of Destruction. But yeah, I would definitely go like maybe a 14-12 or like a 15-11 or 11 in additional 15 in dodge. I'm probably going to go 11 in additional 15 in dodge if I happen to get him to 79%. But that's honestly going to be my build for Toppo, guys. I recommend additional and dodge all the way. Stay away from crits because his Sphere of Destruction gives you guaranteed crits for the remainder of the fight. And just going with that high dodge will just allow you a higher chance of honestly not losing that damage reduction. I'm actually going to take back what I said and go what did I say, 11 dodge? 15 or 11 additional 15 dodge. I'm going to say go 18 additional, or 18 dodge, I'm sorry. 8 additional is probably my final numbers. 8 additional, 18 dodge gives you that 18% chance to dodge, so 1 out of every 5 attacks you should roughly be getting a dodge, and that'll really stretch out his damage reduction. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in probably like 7-ish hours, well, 7 hours from me recording this, but probably like 15-20 minutes from you guys seeing this video, and we'll be summoning for Toppo. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.